All right, listen up.
You've got internet, you've got us.
Give me the details.
Streaming online at NBC1260.com.
And good morning, everybody. This is Beyond the Curve, providing strategic insights on international business and international law. I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, alongside my co-host, Dr. Adriana Sanford. Dr. Adriana Sanford has 6 years of law school, including a double LLM in taxation and international comparative law from Georgetown University. Also a law degree from Notre Dame. She has 4 languages under her belt: French, Spanish, Portuguese, and English. She has represented numerous multinationals, serving both in-house and as external primary U.S. counsel. Good morning, Dr. Sanford.
Good morning.
And Anish Gaur. Anish is from India. He's done management consulting for Bloomberg. He's fluent in English, Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu, and is currently learning Spanish. Good morning.
Morning, Jeffrey.
Also joining us is Ryan Gregg, with more than 15 years of experience in technology industry. He's been with various companies. With a background in cultural research, Ryan is currently a Master's of Business Administration candidate. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, well, let's talk about this. The practical knowledge of legal issues and principles that often arise in the business environment is a strategic asset. Can you tell us a little bit about these benefits?
Oh, absolutely. The important part about this, Jeffrey, it's really important to understand the legal aspects, the legal issues involved in your contracts, in your negotiating. It makes it a lot quicker. It reduces risks. It reduces claims later on. It improves cash flow. And it certainly eliminates unnecessary conflicts if your executive team, if your team that's going out there to negotiate already knows what bells and whistles the document needs. Sometimes what happens is you will get an executive that goes out there and starts to negotiate, and he has just a standard form and doesn't really understand the legal implications of what's in there. So when he gets to the other side, they may start negotiating, and all of a sudden he's giving away the baby. You know, he's giving away the most important points, and only to later on find out from the legal department that those things cannot be given away. Indemnification is one of those hot topics. The best way to deal with this, the best way to work with this, is to train your team and go through the documents and explain to them the rationale behind it. It is an asset for the company. If your executives already are familiar with this, it will go a lot quicker. You'll increase customer satisfaction, and you don't have what's called the battle of the forms, because everybody knows what to expect. Everybody knows what's there, and actually the legal department does very little. They just basically cross the T's, dot the I's, and you're done.
How much does cultural intelligence play a part in this?
Once you understand what your company has, what they have to offer, the business side, and you understand the legal implications of everything involved in your documents, you then need to look also at who it is that you're working with and understand really a little bit more about their background. That's as important, because if you, no matter how good your documents are, no matter how much you know your own business, if you don't know the audience, you're going to have some problems with that.
So they play hand in hand. If you don't have your legal stuff set up, you can be as enmeshed in the culture as you possibly can be, have no success, and vice versa.
Right.
I would like to add as well, besides the legal portion of it, it is absolutely imperative that you understand the culture and what you're getting into, the norms, the communication styles, and what they mean, what is traditional, so you don't do what are sometimes even traditional faux pas of making assumptions that from kind of a emic perspective. In other words, or etic perspective, actually seen from the culture from the outside and your interpretation from your culture rather than actually the internal workings and dynamics of the culture. But talking about saving money, it is a huge factor as far as mitigating the risk that you go into that market and getting the best result,
I think also when you're dealing with those issues, and you're jumping into this, sometimes what I've seen is an executive will assume it's a stereotype. They think, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, this is the country, and they may even do it on a more regional basis. They may think, okay, all these countries are the same. And you see a lot of that when companies are dealing with Latin America.
Yeah, and I would like to add, for instance, when British Petroleum wanted to enter Russia and they had the TNK-BP deal, it was very important for British executives to understand Russian culture to make that deal work, but unfortunately, whatever happened, part of it reason was money and part was culture, because they never understood that what parties wanted out of the deal. So again, cultural intelligence is important as money or numbers presented in the data.
Does cultural intelligence play a part in the actual wording of the legal documents? Meaning, is there a universal legal language, or does some of the cultural influences of the places you're doing business play into the actual legal language?
You know what? It's played in a different way. I'll explain a little bit. I used to be the assistant general counsel of a trade finance bank, and 85% of what we did was trade finance with Latin America. When we had negotiable instruments, sometimes we had our lenders go out there with a promissory note, something written in Spanish, and a promissory note with installments would not work in Guatemala. So you would have to have, if you had installment payments, you had to have 10 different notes rather than one note with installments. In another country, the note had to say on demand. Each country back then had different ways of dealing with negotiable instruments. And if you didn't have those particular bells and whistles, instead of taking you 5 months, 3 to 5 months to collect, it took you 5 years to collect. You couldn't get a summary judgment, and it really, really messed up the financial institution. So this is the type of thing I'm talking about. You really need to know when you're working overseas, you need to know that country. You need to realize that these are not, you can't lump them together, especially when you're dealing with financial situations. And it's an easy mistake because, you know, if you're not really familiar with the differences, you may just think speaking the language is enough. Back to your point, words, there are certain words, legalese. When people speak a different language, they speak that language, don't necessarily speak legalese. They don't understand legalese. It's very, very different. Even in the U.S., people speak English, and that doesn't mean they speak legalese. The word reasonable to us as lawyers has a very, very specific meaning. So you really have to spell things out if you want to get your terms across.
Where I would say my ex-wife was unreasonable, legally she may have been reasonable.
Well, we won't go there today.
Yeah, let's not do that. We're going to take a break. We come back, we will have more Beyond the Curve. Dr. Adriana Sanford, Ryan Gregg, Anish Gore, and I'm Jeffrey O'Brien. We'll be right back after this.
NBC 1260.